A debt ceiling is like giving your child a credit card and you hit the limit. Would you automatically just raise the limit, or would you first look at how they spent their money? We're raising the limit responsibly, but we're looking at our fiscal house and curving the waste, limiting the growth in the future, saving us taxpayer money, but also growing the economy by making us energy independent and getting us cutting red tape so we can build things in America.
And that was House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on this program 2 weeks ago, as House Republicans are seeking to raise the debt limit by $1.5 trillion, while also rolling back spending and imposing a 1% cap on future spending for the next decade. President Biden has finally agreed to meet with congressional leadership this upcoming week. The meeting will happen this Tuesday. But the president has said any call to cut spending is a non-starter. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Congress last week that the federal government will run out of money anytime after June 1st. And without raising the debt limit, the U.S. could default on its debt obligations. Joining me right now with his take and what's at stake is former White House senior advisor and the president of America First Legal, Stephen Miller, is here. Stephen, good to see you. Your reaction to this upcoming meeting. Mike Lee has been working morning, noon, and night to try to rally up senators, Republican senators. He's going to join us coming up after you to discuss his work on this. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I'll take the second thing first. Mike Lee's letter with 43 senators changes the game here, because now you have a situation where the House has passed a debt ceiling bill that cuts spending, and you have more than 40 senators who have said they will not support any conditions-free increase in the debt ceiling. In other words, the debt ceiling increase must be paired with some kind of spending reform. That means there is no unconditional, no strings attached debt ceiling increase that can pass either chamber. So Biden's whole strategy, and that of his advisors, is that they want to break the will, break the spirit, break the backs of Republicans in the Senate and Republicans in the House. So this is a true test of willpower, of resolve. The only circumstance in which Biden will be allowed by his advisors to make a deal, the only circumstance, is if he knows with absolute certainty that 40 Republicans won't bend and Kevin McCarthy's conference won't bend. As long as those two facts hold true, there will be a deal. But if the White House believes they can get past the deadline and that several Republicans, either in that group of 43 that Mike Lee has or the 218 that McCarthy has, buckle and join the Democrats and they get a deal, then there will be no negotiation if Biden thinks that can happen. So this is all about who is going to hang tough.
Well, I mean, look, the president has his advisors around him telling him it's a non-starter, be tough. Is he going to do a unilateral deal with McCarthy?
No, his advisors obviously are not going to let Biden do a unilateral anything. My personal advice would be, if you're meeting with Biden, is I would open the meeting by saying, I want every single staffer out of this room. Every staffer out of here. I'm not negotiating with staff. I'm not negotiating with subordinates. I'm not negotiating with functionaries. The only person I'm talking to, old and addled though he may be, is Joe Biden. And I'm not leaving this room until I hear something out of Joe Biden's mouth about what kind of deal we're going to get. Because I don't want to talk to advisors. They were not elected by anybody. They don't work for anybody. They don't have any purpose in that room other than obstructing a deal from being made. And if it means that we're going to have to go past this limit, then Kevin McCarthy is going to be clear, and I know that Mike Lee and the Senate Republicans are going to be clear in saying that that is Biden's fault alone because he would not negotiate.
Let me get your take on the other major story that is happening this week, and that is James Comer's press conference on Wednesday. America First Legal released records showing deals between communist China and the Biden family. What can you tell us about these records that America First Legal has been getting through the Freedom of Information Act?
Yeah, so we filed a Freedom of Information Act request for Vice President Biden's records pertaining to all things Hunter and Rosemont Seneca, the Hunter firm. And we've now received, since we filed that FOIA and since we filed a lawsuit to compel document production, we've now received 3 tranches of emails that have been stunning, whether it's been showing the Vice President's use of personal email, which is, of course, forbidden, but also showing extensive, continuous collaboration and communication between the vice president's government office and Hunter Biden and his advisors. You cannot tell where Hunter Biden's consulting firm ends and where Joe Biden's office begins. They communicated and coordinated on press statements, on official foreign travel and foreign visits. You had Hunter Biden meeting with and talking with Tony Blinken before major foreign trips abroad. And you have to ask yourselves, what were they talking about? What were they discussing? What is Hunter Biden discussing with Joe Biden's advisors? And that's something that's going to have to be determined if the House is able to get these individuals under oath in a deposition to ask those questions. But clearly, these conversations were not about the weather. They were not about childcare. They were not about vacation plans. This is about enriching the Biden family using the power of the state.
Well, there were certain memos that were shielded from you because they said, the government said that they were about government business. So how ironic.
Yes.
I mean, how could it be about government business if it's about Hunter Biden's business?
That's exactly right. So one of the documents that we got back specifically said we cannot, it's all blacked out, we cannot give you any of the material in these emails because these Hunter Biden discussions pertain to the official business of government and advice and counsel provided by the president or the vice president and his advisors at the highest levels of government. This is official activity. We can't share it. That shield is an admission that what they are doing is using the Biden business to conduct foreign affairs. That is a complete betrayal of the American people. And you combine that with the shocking revelations that James Comer has put forward about the web of LLCs that has apparently been used to get around U.S. tax law, hello IRS, and that has been used quite clearly to enrich the Biden family, 10% for the big guy. You combine the money-making scheme with what we have uncovered in these emails, and you can read them all yourself at aflegal.org. We've put them all out there. And what you may have is the single biggest foreign corruption scandal in American history that now reaches all the way to the Oval Office.
What if the DOJ does not comply? I mean, he's doing this press conference on Wednesday. What if they indict Hunter Biden on Tuesday and then everything is frozen, off limits? Comer said then we'll go to Plan B. What is Plan B, do you think?
Well, real quick, first of all, there's a very real chance that Hunter Biden will be indicted on very low-level, insignificant charges as a distraction play, both to shield Hunter and to also, more importantly, to shield Joe Biden from accountability. Don't put that past DOJ. As to the second point, they're going to have to, in my view, pursue impeachment against the Attorney General of the United States if he does not fully cooperate and comply. And the context of that impeachment will give you enormous powers to bring people in for depositions and to compel discovery. And the courts will give the House enormous discretion to compel discovery and document production in the context of an impeachment. That would be a very effective and powerful tool.
Real quick before you go, the border is the other crisis that is playing out this week. Title 42 going away on Thursday. How do you see it playing out?
Well, we are already seeing, and my sources are telling me, that we are approaching and beginning to approach 10,000 apprehensions a day, plus in just a week, almost 20,000 gotaways. These are apocalyptic levels. And I'll just say there's one way you could potentially address both, which is that Kevin could go, or Senate Republicans could go to Biden, and they could say, if you want a short-term, say 12-week extension in the debt ceiling, so we can continue negotiating, 12 weeks only, fully resume Title 42, we'll keep negotiating. That's a potential option that you could head off both crises that we are now barreling towards at light speed.
Okay, we'll talk with Monica De La Cruz about this coming up. But Stephen, good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thank you
From
so
the White
much.
House senior advisor, Stephen Miller.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.